January 3rd, 2026. In the pre-dawn darkness over Caracas, Venezuela, a dramatic and controversial chapter in modern geopolitics unfolded. In what the United States military called Operation Absolute Resolve, U.S. forces launched a decisive and highly coordinated strike against the Venezuelan government, culminating in the capture of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The operation began around 2:01 a.m. local time, when multiple explosions were reported across the northern part of the country, near key military and infrastructure sites, including La Carlota Air Base, Fuerte Tiuna, and other strategic installations. Eyewitnesses in Caracas described hearing low-flying aircraft and intense detonations in the skies above, while parts of the city plunged into darkness as power grids were disrupted. This was no ordinary military engagement. The United States deployed a massive aerial and special operations force involving more than 150 aircraft that took off from at least 20 bases on land and at sea. Infobay. Among them were state-of-the-art fighter jets and stealth aircraft, including F-35 Lightning II, F-22 Raptors, F/A-18 Super Hornets, and EA-18G Growlers. These were supported by bombers such as the B-1 Lancer, unmanned drones, and surveillance aircraft that provided real-time intelligence and battlefield coordination. The initial phase of the operation focused on disabling Venezuelan air defenses and critical military targets. The stealth fighters and electronic warfare aircraft worked to suppress radar and communications, allowing follow-on forces to operate with minimal resistance. Intelligence aircraft and drones scanned the terrain, pinpointing the precise location of Maduro's residence in the early hours of the morning. On the ground, elite U.S. Special Forces, including units from Delta Force, the 160 Special Operations Aviation Regiment, and other specialized Army, Navy, and Air Force teams, executed a rapid and precise assault on Maduro's safe house in Caracas. Within minutes, the president and his wife were taken into custody, ending years of authoritarian rule and escalating tensions between Washington and Caracas. Once Maduro was secured, the situation on the ground did not simply end. In the hours that followed, Venezuelan airspace remained locked down by American surveillance aircraft circling at high altitude. AWACS radar planes and MQ-9 Reaper drones watched every movement, every convoy, every potential counterstrike from loyalist forces still inside the country. Special operations teams quietly extracted intelligence from seized government facilities, gathering hard drives, encrypted phones, and classified documents that could reveal years of corruption, foreign alliances, and hidden financial networks. In this scenario, the real mission was not only about one man, but about dismantling an entire shadow structure that had kept the regime alive. Off the coast, U.S. Navy destroyers and submarines formed a silent barrier, prepared for anything from missile launches to attempts at a rescue. Fighter jets remained on standby, fueled and armed, ready to respond within minutes if the situation escalated. The world did not see these movements. The tension behind the scenes was enormous. And in a quiet room far from Caracas, Maduro sat alone, realizing that power, once absolute, can vanish in a single night. History, in this version, did not end with his capture. It only began a new chapter, one where secrets, consequences, and unfinished conflicts would shape the future of an entire continent. Once secured, Maduro and Flores were transported to a waiting U.S. Navy amphibious assault ship, the USS Iwo Jima, off the coast of Venezuela. From there, they were flown to the United States, arriving later that day at Stewart Air National Guard Base in New York, where they were transferred to federal custody. The legal dimension of the operation was swift. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed that both Maduro and his wife would face a superseding indictment in the Southern District of New York, including charges related to narco-terrorism conspiracy and narcotics trafficking, offenses dating back to federal cases initiated in 2020. Maduro's first court appearance came just 2 days later. In a Manhattan federal courtroom, he pled not guilty to the charges, maintaining his innocence and denouncing his capture as an illegal military abduction. Flores also entered not guilty pleas while visibly injured, reportedly suffering significant wounds during the raid, according to her attorney. Within Venezuela, the aftermath was chaotic. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as acting president, denouncing the U.S. operation and demanding an immediate release of her predecessor. Venezuelan officials reported dozens of deaths among security personnel and, according to some accounts, the loss of Cuban military advisors embedded in Maduro's security apparatus. International reaction was swift and polarized. Some governments condemned the operation as a blatant violation of international law and an infringement on Venezuelan sovereignty, while others welcomed the removal of what they viewed as a destabilizing leader with deep ties to illicit narcotics networks. Debates erupted in the United Nations, where calls for accountability and legal scrutiny were raised by multiple member states. For the United States, the mission was framed as both a law enforcement action against indicted criminals and a strategic blow against drug trafficking and corruption. Yet critics pointed out the lack of congressional authorization and the unprecedented nature of using military force to apprehend a foreign head of state in peacetime. Historically, the capture of Nicolás Maduro marked one of the most dramatic interventions in Latin America in decades, the first time U.S. forces had seized a sitting president of a sovereign neighboring nation and brought him to trial on U.S. soil. Comparisons emerged to past operations, such as the 1989 capture of Manuel Noriega in Panama, though this event carried far broader geopolitical implications. As the world watched, Venezuela remained in a state of flux. Streets in Caracas saw both demonstrations and armed skirmishes, with pro-regime motorcycle groups and paramilitaries asserting control in the power vacuum left behind. Journalists faced increased risks, and many citizens went into hiding amid widespread fear and uncertainty. Meanwhile, the U.S. military presence in the Caribbean and Latin America was significantly expanded, with aircraft carrier groups and strategic assets maintaining a visible footprint. Analysts speculated on long-term plans for Venezuela's governance, oil infrastructure management, and future diplomatic relations in the region. In the years to come, historians will debate the legality, morality, and strategic wisdom of Operation Absolute Resolve. But the facts remain that on January 3, 2026, the world witnessed a pivotal moment, one that reshaped regional politics and challenged long-held norms of international engagement and sovereignty. Now I want to know what you think. Do you believe this operation will stabilize Venezuela or push the region toward further conflict? Leave your thoughts below. I'll read the top comments in the next video. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. USA.